We are live. We are live on Mad Monster here with special effects artist Tom Devlin extraordinaire. How you doing today, Mr. Devlin?
I'm doing pretty great. I'm doing really good.
Yeah, we're excited because next week we're gonna be able to get together and hang out at the Mad Monster Party in North Carolina. It's gonna be good. I'm excited because the one of the reasons why I'm really just going crazy over it is I'm a huge Jason X fan. And I
Yeah,
hope you guys are watching this, share it, share it, share it, share it. But Tom has created something special. I've seen it with my own eyes. Got our sneak preview at Mad Monster Party in Phoenix. We saw the Jason X costume you created for the Kane Hodder Jason X photo op. I mean, that
yeah,
thing's amazing, Tom. Amazing.
man, it was a life dream too. I'm a huge Jason fan to begin with, so and I love all the Kane films. Of course, he's the man. But back when it came out, a lot of people dogged on Jason X. But I love Jason X, so it was cool. Recently, people have kind of changed their mind about it, and I feel like they've warmed up to the movie, and it's become a cult favorite. But I really defended that film for a long time, and to get to recreate Stefan Dupuis' original. When I was a kid, I was like 19, 20. I worked on X Files, and I worked with Stefan Dupuis, who made the Jason X costume, and he would talk about the difficulties of that at the time. So very, very cool to get to recreate it, and it was very difficult.
And Scott says, "Hey guys, hey Scott. I know Scott's going to be with us next weekend."
Awesome, awesome.
Brandon said, "Yes, amazing. It is amazing. I saw it in person, and a lot of people had questions about the photo ops. You don't have to wear a mask in the photo op because we do a little bit of Hollywood trickery and get you in there without the mask on, but still staying safe. But Jason, I mean, I'm with you. People dog Jason X. I loved it. I love when he takes that lady's head and smashes it in, and then nothing really beats that whole killing a chick in a sleeping bag, banging them around. I mean, how could you not like Jason X? I mean,
Well, the cool part about Jason X too is you get him in both looks. It's not like you don't get the hockey mask killer. You get the hockey mask killer, but then you also get this awesome new Uber Jason, kind of a new look at it. And I thought it was awesome, man. And Kane, of course, like he just when we put him in that costume for the first time, it was all fun making the costume, but when he actually dons it, there's just an essence he radiates, and I mean you could feel it through the plastic and rubber. It's like that's fucking Jason Voorhees, man.
and he was in the zone too. I mean, he was like, I was like getting ready to jump back when he grabbed that machete thing because it was like he was in it. It was like Jason's in the room with us, you
Yeah,
know.
very very cool.
And you always see Kane like he's done costume photo ops before, but it's never been Jason X, and especially on the East Coast. I mean, we did just that one time in Phoenix, and I think a lot of people missed out because of COVID and the pandemic, and it's the first con coming back. But I mean, now this is something. Besides Jason X, what's your favorite Friday the 13th movie?
My favorite, well, that's a tough one because I'm between two. I love Part Seven. John Carl Buechler is my favorite effects artist. I think he's a great director. I love it, but I have to say my favorite Friday film of all time is Part Four, and it's part of the Tommy Jarvis story where it began as him as a little effects artist. I was a little kid named Tommy that wanted to be an effects artist. I looked
Yeah.
up to the movie, and I really the era of it is the perfect era for slasher films. I love Part Four. And then part 7, and I love part 6. I'm really a Friday fan, but the look of Jason in part 7 is just second to none. I love the exposed spine and the rib cage and all that.
Yeah, I think Kane is probably my favorite Jason. And I just think he brings something to the character that is just amazing. And if people's never met Kane before, you definitely should. I mean, you really should. And
Yeah, and since I was a little guy going to conventions when I was 14, 15 years old, like Kane has been an ambassador for this franchise since I was a kid, and the fact that he's still out there and he's still doing the shows and shaking fans' hands. A lot of the other Jasons have gotten on board now, but back then he was the only one.
you know,
And that was cool. In the 90s, I would go to Chiller Theater in New Jersey, and we'd always see Kane as signing autographs and shaking hands, and it was great getting choked out.
and Jimmy says part 2 and 8 and 4. Liz says, "What's up, Sarge? What's up, Tom? Looking forward to seeing y'all next weekend. Looking forward to seeing you." Kevin says 4, 6, 7, 8, and X.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And Jimmy said, "Just watched last night the commentary with part 8 with Hodder in the new box set. What an awesome dude."
Man, I wanted to get one of those box sets. They're beautiful. They were sold out by the time I saw them.
Daniel says, "I love Jason X." I think Friday the 13th, in my opinion, had one of the best part 2.
Oh yeah.
With had one of the best jump scenes in any horror movie when that cat comes through the window and she's at the apartment.
Yeah.
As a kid, that terrified, like, I like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. Jimmy says Hodder said he passed out because of the heat in the disco scene in part 8. And Vicky says, "Hello, gentlemen. I missed you, Sarge. Missed you too, Vicky." I mean, I would love to see, to be honest, I'd like to see them settle their legal difficulties with the Friday the 13th franchise. I mean, there's plenty of money to make that everybody can get paid. No need. I'm not blaming any party or anybody. I'm just saying settle the beef and bring Kane Hodder back as Jason.
Oh my God, that'd be great.
Do it. I mean, is nothing to it but to do it. Let's do it, and let's set it up. Let's do like a Jason versus Michael. I mean,
Yeah.
who do you think will win in that, Tom?
Jason Voorhees. His knife's long. The thing is, Michael Myers can survive gunshots and stuff, but you start cutting him in half, and we're gonna have problems.
Yeah, we had Jamie here says, "Hi Tom, how's the haunted attraction going near your other shop?"
Oh man, it killed it in October. We had a blast, and then we opened for December for Frightmare Before Christmas, and that, oh God, the haunt was one of the best additions we've ever built.
And Jimmy says, "What's up with re-releasing part 2 again in a 10 set? How much coin they looking to make?" Yeah, they're gonna re-release that stuff as much as possible in between now and they figure out. Vicky says Jason versus Chucky, who would win? It'd be funny if they wrote it to where Jason got possessed by Chucky. They need to do an Expendables of horror with the actual characters.
Yeah,
Like,
with the rather than the actors, not like Death House, but do it with the actual characters.
nah, nothing like Death House. Nope, no more Death House. I'm good. I'm good on Death House. But they ought to have like Leprechaun, Chucky, Jason, Michael, and Leatherface.
Yeah.
And Pinhead.
Candyman.
It depends. I want to see how that can. What do you think of all these remakes that Hollywood's doing? They got the Candyman remake.
You know, I have a hard time with them, and it's not that I don't like the movies. I love the Hills Have Eyes remake. I thought it was great.
Yes.
I'm a fan of the Texas Chainsaw remake and the Friday the 13th remake, but I don't want them. I just enjoy the movies. So there's some that I will not watch. There's some that I will not bring myself to watch, like Nightmare on Elm Street. Never seen it. I haven't watched the Thing one, and I know people tell me to, but I'm a practical effects guy, and I can't imagine that it holds up practical effects wise. So I think it's probably all CGI, and I don't know. It's remakes are a weird spot with me because some are great. I mean, look at The Fly. The Fly was incredible, and that's a remake. And The Thing, the original Thing, was a remake. So I don't know. And I'm actually a fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween. I know a lot of people dog on that, but I really enjoyed it.
I like the first one. The second one, I was like, Rob, you messed up with the horse and Sharon and the other actor. It's like some producer on the set did not have the cojones to go, Rob, what the hell are you thinking with the horse thing?
I think they gave him a lot of shit on that movie, and he just went the other way with it. Like, hey, you guys are going to give me shit. I'm going to go that way, you know? So.
Yeah, and the thing about with them and Rob, it's like if I was gonna give Rob a horror movie to remake, it would be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
not Halloween.
But people would about that too. You know, the thing is with remakes, everybody is so fond of the actual source material, myself included, that they don't give the remake a chance, or they say, well, you change this. But if you don't change it, then they're like, you didn't change anything. Why'd you remake it? You know, so you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Because one of my personal favorites is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they're rebooting that. Legendary is they're filming it in Bulgaria, and they're having like two girls. One is in a wheelchair, fight a 60-year-old Leatherface.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, if you're gonna fight a 60, that story don't make sense, you know,
Right.
in the first place. But second place, it's like, why wouldn't you bring back Bill Moseley as Chop Top? You know, if you own that intellectual, you had that property, bring back Bill Moseley, bring back the original hiker, bring back the original Leatherfaces that we had that could be in there and do something special.
Yeah, R.A. Mihailoff, man, greatest Leatherface other than Gunner, in my opinion.
Yep. Ryan here says, question: where can the story go when they at the Friday the 13th franchise at this point? If anything, they need to do more verse films. Personally, all of them need to get over the legal differences so they can have an ultimate team up. That's about the only place I could see going unless we reboot it all over again.
You know, I wouldn't even want to see a reboot. I just want to see somebody try to reopen Camp Crystal Lake again in 2021, and this fucking corpse of a hockey mask wearing idiot comes out of the water and slaughters them. I just want to see what I love so much. You know, I don't need to go in another direction. I just want it. I want it rehashed the same where you're like, oh, I know how this is going to go, and I will enjoy the hell out of it, you know?
What I would do is I would open the scene up in 2021 with two counselors getting frisky, and some little kids in the water drowning. And as he's drowning, you see Jason's hand come up and push the kid up out of the water to safety and break the chain.
I love that.
So we go back to the basics of Jason is there to protect these kids from the counselors.
Right, right.
It's not easy. It's not hard, Hollywood. Y'all just got to listen to the horror people that know what they're doing and stop hiring comedians that don't know nothing about horror to do these films.
I really like Derek Mears' reboot, though, and I look at it more as a sequel to Part 4 than a reboot. The guy's looking for his sister. It's kind of similar, you know. I really love that.
And Ryan says, I think the fans need to get over the remake situations. These properties are going to continue We just need to enjoy them and be thankful. I agree. They're always going to remake, but they need to listen to people in the horror community that know about the intellectual properties when they do these movies. They're doing the movies and giving them to inexperienced directors that have no experience in the horror genre, that have no horror at all.
They're not even fans of the franchise. The thing is, you look at something like The Mandalorian, and they got it right. They hired a bunch of fanboys who are Hollywood people to make something and stay true to the story, but also tell us a great tale. And it worked. And if you could do that in the horror realm, I mean, shoot, could you imagine? It could be great.
As she said, Daniel says, Jason Michael versus Freddy and Pumpkinhead. Jason versus Bigfoot. Do you guys like Halloween 6 or the producer's cut better?
I actually like the theatrical cut better than the producer's cut.
I agree with you. And Ryan says, Tom, great point. Just go back to where it all began. And Omar says, I think the big thing nowadays is the prequel like in Star Wars. And Steve says, I mean, if they're going to do remakes, how about Race with the Devil?
Yeah.
And how hard is it for people these days to come up with a new killer? That is true.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just worked on a movie called Time's Up, and I think it's going to be awesome. It's got a great killer.
I've heard some crazy stuff about Time. I keep hearing this chatter down there. Somebody better send me some cuts or something because I want to see that thing. I've heard 5 people this week has said, so you got to get Time's Up on your radar.
Well, here's the thing. I know that Damien Maffei from Time's Up, one of the producers and actors, he's also in Haunt and the new Wrong Turn. He's going to be in at Mad Monster, so he'll be signing there. But we did Time's Up in Maine, and I mean, we killed some people. It was fun.
Yeah, last time I was in Maine, I did this little thing in the Marines called Sear School where they dropped us off in the woods and hunted us. It was not.
There you go. And then comes out of the woods, and then you got Hills of Ice Part 2. So never mind.
But yeah, I heard he was going to be there. He was in the Haunt. He's in Wrong Turn. But
he's also he's the newer Strangers, the newest installment. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy kind of scares me because if somebody comes to my door with a bag on their head talking about let me in with some 2 girls, man, I ain't going for that mess. I ain't going for it at all. No, sir. And Mitchell says, Tom, you're working Evil Within, Club Dread, Lords of Dogtown. Great stuff. Those are all gems.
Man, Evil Within was one of the biggest trips of my life. It was so fun. I worked on that movie for 6 months, but I have to say there was probably 20 other effects artists involved with that movie at different times than I was. But all of our work combined made this really twisted, weird movie starring Michael Berryman, Sean Patrick Flannery, Dina Meyer. It's really good. And on set of that, Michael invited us all out to go on the set of Devil's Rejects. I got to meet Rob Zombie and be on set of Devil's Rejects during the chicken fucker scene.
The chicken fucker. I was talking with Michael Berryman about that. He told me he really got mad at that guy because he kept kind of ad-libbing and adding on to it and stuff. And they were like, really? You know. Michael's a unique individual.
Oh, he's great. I've done 2 movies. I did Ed Gein, The Butcher of Plainsfield with him and Kane Hodder, and then also Evil Within with Michael. And another movie, I think maybe he was in Brutal. I can't remember if I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Steve says, when is Tom going to make a Sergeant Horror movie? Well, have to sit down and see. If you guys send me a bunch of money, we'll make one in a couple of months.
Yeah, let's do it this summer.
Omar says, Pinhead scares the hell out of me to this day. And Ryan
Only
says,
Doug Bradley is.
Ryan says, I'm not trying to be woke, but I'd love a better female slasher. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Jivy says, Kane Hodder is always recognized to the horror fans are some of the most loyal groups out there.
true.
And Ryan says, Tom, how do you feel about the new Puppet Master since you're wearing a full moon hoodie?
So I've done the last three Puppet Master films: Axis Termination, Axis Rising, and Blade the Iron Cross. I'm about to do Doctor Death, the spinoff film. If the new film he's talking about is the reboot, in my world, that's not a Puppet Master film. It doesn't. It's not. It's not Full Moon, and it's not real. And I'm not a huge fan of it.
Now, what's your favorite movie that you worked on, like the most challenging movie you've worked on as far as effects are concerned?
Challenging. I mean, that's tough. Maybe The Evil Within, the one with Berryman that we were talking about, because it was complete lunacy. The other, I did a movie called Low a long time ago that we shot for like $5 in my effects shop. It's about a demon, and the creatures in that. We had no money, and we were making it up as we went, kind of, and we made a really cool little film, and I was proud of that. But yeah, I mean, I've got my hands in so much of the low budget world. I don't ever have money or time, so it's always hard.
Now, I was looking at your IMDb and I saw you were involved in some of the Evil Bong films.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've done quite a few of them.
Those to me are hilarious. I mean,
Oh, I'm glad, because I don't know why we keep making them.
I think at every dispensary in California or any state that marijuana is legal, they need to have an Evil Bong movie beside the checkout and require you to buy it when you buy some really high grade chronic.
We shot Evil Bung 777 in the Monster Museum that I own here in Vegas, and I just wish there was a better movie for the museum to be represented in, because unless you know what you're watching, it's complete nonsense. It's so hard to follow.
So you said you shot the Evil Bong in your museum?
Yeah, in part 7, the whole finale takes place. They hide out in the Monster Museum.
Maybe we need to just come up there and shoot another one in your museum. Then I'm game for that.
Yeah.
Not. Let me get this. Mitchell says, "How was it working with Broken Lizard?"
Oh, Club Dread was, I was really young, but it was one of the first films that I ever was responsible for almost every effect in that movie. I worked for a big shop called WM Creations, and the two guys on set were Chris Burgoyne and Chris Kebzina, but I made in the shop just about every effect that's in Club Dread, and that was, I mean, it was such an honor and so cool to life cast Bill Paxton and make body parts and knife gags where like machetes come out of people's stomachs. And I felt like it was, even though it's a comedy horror, it was, I was about 19 or 20 and I got to make like my first slasher film. It was really cool.
Wow.
We were shipping everything to Mexico, so I had to do all the correspondence with them to make sure the effects were ready on time. It was really cool. I learned a lot.
And Ben says, "Hey Tom, could you tell us about your Academy of Makeup and Monsters?"
Yeah, we hold workshops at the museum. I built a school in the back, so we do everything from face painting, bald caps, and facial hair to full-blown prosthetics, puppetry, and animatronics. Today we just finished a puppetry and animatronic class where the girl made a full talking, moving skull with a character that she created. And actually, during her makeup effects program, I took her to Maine with me on Time's Up, and she got her first IMDb credit. She got to work with a friggin' all-star cast, and that's part of her schooling. So it's cool. And we take up to 4 students at a time, but no more than 4 students.
So they get really hands-on experience.
It's almost like an internship, but there's a curriculum to it. So they will touch on every bit of what they're going to need we kind of consider it like there's big fancy makeup schools out there and there's big fancy gyms out there like 24-hour fitness, but we're more like a sweaty boxing gym where we train people to work, you know.
And that's what's a lot of people, I think, they look at stuff like special effects and, uh, becoming a director or producer and think it's all glamorous, but working on a film is some of the hardest work
Hard. Yeah.
you could imagine, and it is not glamorous. The glamorous part comes way after if you're lucky, way after the film's done.
You know, the thing is people. It is 12-hour days, no matter what. If your call time's 8, you're there till 8. If it's 4, you're there till 4 in the morning. That's what we work, 12-hour days, and usually 6 days a week on set. And then in the shop, man, we work around the clock to get things ready, especially at the little budgets I have. Like, we don't normally have any time, and we gotta, I mean, it's a crazy amount of work, but I don't know what I would do if I didn't do that, because it's all I've ever done, you know.
And how'd you get started?
So I grew up in Pennsylvania and in a little town called East Stroudsburg, and I was super obsessed with horror films. And I met Tom Savini at a Chiller Theater, and I told him I wanted to do what he did, and he pointed me in the direction of LA and Joe Blasco's, which I was familiar with the makeup school. Joe Blasco's from Fangoria. And I ended up going to Joe's and taking the makeup class, the beauty class. And, it was awesome. But then when it came time for effects, there was no room for effects class. They didn't have enough students signed up or whatever. So I ended up getting an internship at WM Creations on X-Files and on season 8 of X-Files. And I worked there for about 2 weeks for free. And then they hired me on full time, and I stayed there for 2 years. And that's where I did the Broken Lizard Project, Club Dread, and Scorpion King, Terminator 3, Red Dragon, stuff like that.
And you said the Red Dragon?
Yeah, I was on set for Red Dragon at Universal, and I made a lot of the effects that are in the film.
Wow, I love that film.
Yeah, me too.
Now, how was it working on the X-Files? I kind of hate that show.
So I loved that show when I was a kid, and I actually remember when I left Pennsylvania, a teacher told me if I came to LA, I would never amount to anything. And I said, you'll see me in the end credits of the X-Files. And then sure enough, she did. I don't know if she did, but I was in the end credits of the X-Files. I worked on that show for 1.5 years. I did the end of season 8 and all of season 9, and it's the greatest experience of my life. But it set me up for this weird train of thought that you just move to Hollywood and you get a job. Like, I didn't understand the opportunity I had at that moment. I wasn't just working on a day job. I had like the fucking effects job, and I was working with huge people, and I learning from all of them, like Stefan Dupuis, who made the Jason X costume and the Brundlefly. Working alongside of him on episodes, and Tim Considine, who created the Toxic Avenger for Part 4 and was a big Trauma guy, which I was a huge fan of. And of course, Clinton Wayne, who taught me more than anything. And he's gone on to have an amazing Emmy-winning career. And it was awesome.
Now, Steve wants to know, are you going to have any props at Mad Monster?
I don't know if I'll have any props. I have some how-to videos that I can pack with me, and some stuff, but I don't know if I'll be able to get any props on the plane. If so, I might bring a blade from Blade the Iron Cross, because I usually stick that up at my table because I'm real proud of the Full Moon stuff. I know that Full Moon's got a lot. Either you love them or you hate them, or you think that they used to be good, but man, we make movies in 5 days, and they're feature films, and it's so much fun. I love Full Moon, so I sometimes try to bring some Full Moon props with me.
This is Tom. What did the Toxic Avenger actually smell like in person?
Well, I've only ever seen I've never was on a Toxic Avenger film, so I never got to smell the real one. But I did make masks for Trauma that they used to parade around the conventions with, and that now lives at my Monster Museum, and he smells pretty gross.
Now, what's some of the stuff that you have at your Monster Museum?
So the Monster Museum is a walk through time. We started the silent film era and get all the way through the 80s and 90s, and it's all things practical. So anything from Nosferatu, Hunchback of Notre Dame to Freddy Krueger, and we've got it all. Lots of low budget stuff. There's a good stretch of it that's just my personal work, which is usually direct to DVD kind of crap movies, but we don't focus on any of the big stuff I did with other companies. It's all my 1313 effects since 2002. So it's a lot of low budget horror, sci-fi channel stuff.
And they want to, are you current? Ben wants to know, has the museum been affected by the pandemic? I guess they want to know, are you open now?
We are open, and the museum was affected by the pandemic, but in a positive way. It's crazy how well the museum has been doing. We had to close our doors for 2 months, which gave me some time to kind of rework the museum because I had time to close the doors. And when we reopened, it's been like the floodgates have not stopped. We have had so much business since we reopened.
Now, that's amazing. That's really good.
So crazy because so many small businesses are struggling, and this weird little roadside attraction is just thriving.
Jamie says, who is your favorite Puppet Master doll?
Pinhead.
Oh. And Mitchell wants to know, Tom, in the Red Dragon, which scene were you involved in, your favorite shot, and also scene? Also,
what I was mostly involved with, personally, both made it in the shop and put it on set, was there's a scene where the blind lady sticks her hand into a face of a guy that's been shot in the face with a shotgun. And I made that head. I didn't do the hair work. I did everything else on that head. And I also brought that into the fire set on, and was there when she worked with it. I'm not a union effects artist, so I can't do makeups on people's faces, but I can bring props like that and set up the effects. So I did that with a guy named Ryan McDowell. And then we also, I made all the molds for like the Philip Seymour Hoffman burnt body. I did the little scars on Ed Norton's stomach. I made those out of silicone and a lot of things. I just didn't get to apply that stuff.
What about the teeth?
The what?
His teeth?
Oh, yeah. I didn't do any of that either. That was a John Jackson.
You didn't happen to steal a pair because I'd love to have some. Now, do you have any props from X-Files?
I don't. No, not anymore. I used to have a demon face from, I think the episode's called Demonicus. It's with Patrick Swayze's brother, John Swayze. I used to have that demon face, but times fell hard, and I think I sold it on eBay.
Shane says, I love full moon features. And Daniel says, low budget horror sci-fi is my favorite. Jimmy says, Pieces was good, the original.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of great low budget indie movies out there. And I think that, us as horror fans, if we want to continue to see them, you definitely got to support them. And when you see stuff that's coming out, like I'm really excited. I'm just shocked that I'm literally 5 people's like, you're going to go crazy when you see Time's Up. I was like, huh? What's Time's Up? Time's Out? What is this? What are y'all talking about? And I'm like, it's got a good buzz. And y'all
That's
just
great. It's a little movie. It's the little movie that could. Anything that tried to go wrong on that movie did go wrong, but we got on top of it, and it was so much fun. Produced by Felissa Rose, Damien Maffei, Elsie Holtz. Like, that movie is, God, it's got a lot of heart there. So hopefully people do love it.
Now, are you're involved in that special Felissa Rose sleepaway camp photo op?
Yeah,
and it's kind of a surprise
ending.
But that's another one. If you guys coming out to Mad Monster Party, I'd be interested how many guys there, ladies and gentlemen that are on here watching, could be sure to hit us up and say hey to us. Tom, you gonna have a table there? You gonna be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have some how-to DVDs we're gonna sell. We'll have some Monster Museum merch, and I just like seeing the fans and saying hi because I am one of them. I am a fan. It's I love this stuff.
And what is your advice? Because I've had three people when I told people I was having you on here. I had a couple of questions that people were like, I don't want to type them in the comments, but please ask Tom. One, they was wanting me to ask you, how was it to be on Face Off?
The Face Off was awesome. I get a bad rap on Face Off a little bit sometimes because it looks like I was kind of a grumpy guy that wasn't having a good time, but that's editing, man. I had so much fun on Face Off, and I did think I was going to win the show, and I didn't. That was a bummer, but it was like going to Makeup Effects camp. I loved it.
And I mean, what was the days like that? Like
It's
Monday through Friday, what did they have y'all doing?
It was 14 hours per 19 hours per challenge. So we would go in the morning and we would get our first challenge. We would do it. The spotlight challenge happens almost in real time, like what you watch. It's given to us. We do it. They judge it. Then they give us, and that's 4 of the hours. And then we have 14 hours for the main challenge. And once we got the task, it was go to work and like working on it till the moment it was seen on TV as the judging comes up.
Wow.
I mean, crazy. There was, when they say brushes down, if you don't put your brush down, you're done. So, I mean, we would work for 14 hours straight on those challenges. The thing is, I'm used to that because I work on such low budgets. I don't usually have a lot of time. I never was stressed out by the time pressure. I was never stressed out because there's so many materials at our fingertips. We had everything to do what we needed. The hardest part was the personalities that they would pair you up with. And I think that was intentional to try to make drama. They would pair you with people that you psychologically did not pair with. We all went through psychobabs, but it was, it's crazy that it was 10 years ago now. And I talk about it every day. Somebody asked me about Face Off every single day.
Yeah, and the other, Ben that just made a comment here. He says, my favorite item in your collection is the Ginger Dead Man.
Yeah.
And Vicky wants to know, what's the cheapest prop you ever made? I take old porcelain dolls to get thrown away and dissect them and take the eyes out.
My cheapest prop I ever made was the Killer Eye from Killer Eye 2. I went to the 99-cent store and bought a ball and painted it, and then I just covered it with epoxy.
And Jimmy says, I've seen your work. That Superman show was awesome. Dan, that Superman show was awesome. Not sure what he was talking.
I don't know what Superman show is.
Can we get the Mad Monster convention? I don't know. I need to keep better contact with you, Sarge. Now, the other question that someone asked me to ask you is, when you started and got involved compared to now, how do people in this new internet age and with the way Hollywood's going get started as a special effects artist?
Well, the thing is like when I did it, I asked a bunch of people. Like I said, I met Tom Savini and he kind of pointed me in the direction. And I went through a catalog and I got there and I just tried. It was, for a lot of people, that'd be very scary. I was a 17-year-old kid that moved across country with like stars in my eyes. But nowadays it's so accessible. There's so many ways to learn. My biggest critique is careful what you learn on YouTube, because not everybody that's teaching on YouTube knows what they're talking about. Read a lot of books. There's so many good books out there. Special Makeup Effects that just came out recently. It's got Trixie the Clown or whatever, that guy from American Horror Story on the cover. That has all the information you need. There's programs like what I do at the workshops. I know in Chicago, Anthony Cozart does the same thing. There's a lot of artists around there willing to share the knowledge. So I really just think practice, and be resourceful.
And I mean, I definitely think that they need to get your DVDs and attend your school would be a great way, because
Yeah.
I think horror fans, and I think the movie industry as a whole, is getting sick and tired of CGI, and we're ready to make that swing back to practical effects, because practical effects, when lit and color corrected, looks better than CGI almost any day of the week, in my opinion.
And that's why movies like Time's Up are so fun, because we actually spent 6.5 hours shooting one death scene, and that was all practical, a lot of different elements to it, and I haven't done that in a long time. So it was that's why I love that movie.
And Ben says, was Lon Chaney influential to your career?
1000%.
That's something. And I mean,
we wouldn't have a career if it weren't for Lon Chaney Sr. I mean, there would be no makeup effect.
now what's an item that you use a lot in special effects that fans probably wouldn't realize?
Third degree. There's a 2-part silicone compound called third degree. I use that more often than anything. I can make almost anything out of it on the spot.
Third degree.
Third degree.
That's awesome. And do you know when Time's Up's coming out?
I would imagine about a year from now, maybe New Year's next year. It's a New Year's Eve slasher film, so I could see it coming out right around New Year's.
Man, they're going to make us wait. They're going to make us wait.
I'm not allowed to post anything about it either. So there's pictures of the mask online, like the killer Bloody Disgusting did a thing on the character. But other than that, he's a Father Time, New Year's Eve slasher, very reminiscent to Terror Train or something like that. But it's fun. It's old school. It's fun.
And what indie movies would you recommend that people might not have heard of?
So some of my favorite indie movies out there, I love both Dave Parker's The Dead Hate the Living, as well as The Hills Run Red. I think those are incredible indie films. Well, we talked about earlier, The Evil Inside. I think that's an awesome one. Joshua, but the Fangoria release of Joshua, that was probably my first actual 16 millimeter film that I worked on, and the team that put that together was incredible. And it is just a dark horror story that it just hasn't been seen much because Blockbuster closed right after it got distribution. So, but Joshua is incredible indie film.
Jimmy thinks I should ask you my question of, if you could take, I typically ask people stuff like this, if you could only take one horror movie with you on a space station for 5 years, which horror movie would that be?
Does Monster Squad count? Monster Squad or Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
It wouldn't be a Friday the 13th?
No, it'd probably be Texas Chainsaw 1 or Monster Squad. Then close second would be Friday 4, Sleepaway Camp 2.
Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp 2. If someone asked you to work on a remake, what would be the ultimate remake you'd want to be involved in?
Dang. I'd want to well, I would, if it was done correctly, I would want to do Maniac Cop.
I'd want to remake, if they called me tomorrow and said, hey, what you want? I'd want to remake Motel Hell.
Yeah, that's golden though. Well, yeah. I mean, if it's done correctly, I would do that. That's right there too. That's the thing. It's like, I love Maniac Cop so much. I just don't think enough people have seen it. If it was rebooted, people would watch it, but they would have to do it right. It can't be, the talks that they have right now, I'm not happy with the direction it was going in, kind of more of a crime show and less of a slasher film.
I think they ought to make a movie where they take Hatchet, Victor Crowley, and put him in space like Jason X and do a Uber Hatchet.
Uber Hatchet. That'd be pretty awesome.
I know somebody that can make the costume. But Ryan says, I'm a weirdo and would want to remake Basket Case.
I'll do the effects for that.
And Vicky says, Motel Hell, yes. I mean, that was one of my favorites. I like Motel Hell, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I watched a low budget one the other day. Her name was Chrissa. That was like a very low budget movie. They did really well on. And then Vicky says Lifesaver Hatchet. That would be funny. Have Kate in there with a lifesaver and a hatchet.
I don't know if he could ever recover from the hate mail he would get for that.
But yeah. And another one of my favorite classics, and I was gonna ask you this, is what's your top 3 horror movies of all times?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Pumpkinhead, probably say Friday 4. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Pumpkinhead, Friday 4.
Now, if you could own any prop from any horror movie ever, what would that be?
Pumpkinhead. The suit. Yeah.
Have you ever? I was talking with Kane, and he told me he had, like, it's in his contract when he did the Friday the 13th that he got the mask.
Oh, he does. He has all his masks. He had the flesh suit from that I made him for Ed Gein. He sometimes auctions the stuff off for charity, but he walks away with all that. Yeah.
I'm like, man, his horror collection would put mine to shame. I would love to have the original hockey mask from the first
From part 3.
part 3 for the first time in the bag. I would even like to have the original bag.
Yeah.
You know, I did own quite a bit from Saul because they auctioned a lot of that off, but end up reselling it.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, you've been so gracious with your time, and I hope everybody watching, if you're around North Carolina area, if you want a Jason X photo op, you got to go to madmonsterparty.com and get it now. They're going to cut off ticket sales probably Monday or Tuesday. Don't know. Could be any day now. Get it. That's the only way to ensure it. If you want to buy it there in person, get there early because it's on a first come, first served basis. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see you again, Tom, and I definitely appreciate you coming on. Do you got any last words for the people?
Well, if anybody is listening is in North Carolina, stop by, say hi, let me know. And it's always a pleasure talking to you, Sarge. And this is a blast. I can't wait.
Take care. Sergeant Horror, Tom Devlin for Mad Monster. We're out.
Awesome.